I covered the more popular mutants separately, but plan to do so with other things. One such item being locations, of which there are many cut. For those of you that haven't sullied yourselves with mods, can you think of any examples of cut levels? Have you seen, talked about, or heard any? Everybody knows about Truck Cemetery and Darkscape, right? But we'll get to those later. Dead City. The city is split into two locations. We're on the Merc side. To the south beyond the square is where the bandits are. They're holed up in the school building southwest of the city. In between the bases, there is a rundown 5-floor building and a few relatively intact ones. If it hits the fan, you can sit it out there. There are also some garages and a couple of small houses around that area. There are a couple of 5-floor buildings and a dozen garages on the bandit side too. The former city council building is on the other side of the square. Doc, about the Dead City. The Dead City is a Soviet-era town located between Yantar and Limansk that was abandoned by its inhabitants in the wake of the 1986 disaster. Over the years, it fell prey to scavengers and elements, slowly falling apart. The city's central feature is a town square with a statue of Lenin in the middle. This statue also houses the city's culture, sports center, and party headquarters. A short distance to the southeast lies a school complete with a basketball court. The rest of the city is occupied by block housing, dilapidated single homes, and garages. Over the years, the city was stripped of most of its valuables, and by 2012, it was practically an empty shell of its former self. The city is occupied by bandits and mercenaries who have converted it into a secret base of sorts. Two major leaders of the factions reside within the city limits, Dushman and Borzid. As such, the area is crawling with bandits and mercs. While the former are your typical run-of-the-mill zone marauders, the mercs are a force to be reckoned with, as they include, alongside regular mercs, exoskeleton operators and techs with Seva suits. Their armaments are also of high quality. Mercs use TRS-301 and SGI-5K rifles alongside their armor. Dead City can be located in earlier builds of SOC, most notably build 1935, where it has a fair amount of detail and is explorable. In build 1935, the Dead City is a very active area containing many zombies as well as bloodsuckers, boars, flesh, blind dogs, pseudo-dogs, and a fair amount of stalkers. Obviously, this was not how Dead City was going to appear in the final game. Dead City was supposed to be shared between mercenaries and bandits. Dead City has a road to Yantar, a road to the army warehouses, and a road to the swamps. It was going to play a major role in Shadow of Chernobyl. Doctor was being held captive here, and S.T.A.L.K.E.R was captured and brought to Dead City. A dialogue compilation exists for the level which can be located in the game's files, alongside various textures and a character configuration file. Also, at the army warehouses behind Lukash, one can see a map of the Dead City. If the player looks to the top left corner, they can see an arrow that points to the left of the map in a writing, Myortvi Gorod, or Dead City. This points to a conclusion that Dead City was intended to be put in the game, but it never made it. According to leftover dialogue, the Dead City was supposed to be part of the storyline where Mark Twain would learn from Doc his true identity as S.T.A.L.K.E.R, and Doc would give S.T.A.L.K.E.R the key to the Pripyat safe house. In the final game, this is obviously different. Mark Twain has given him both his true identity and the key to the Pripyat Hotel by Doc at the Agroprom Underground after recovering the documents from X-16 and speaking to Guide. Dead City appears to draw inspiration from the city of Polisk, a settlement that was abandoned following the Chernobyl disaster. Unlike the in-game Dead City, Polisk is still inhabited by a few senior citizens, despite the city being in the exclusion zone. Generators. If you finished Shadow of Chernobyl, you probably wondered what these huge things were that were sitting around. The cut level, Generators, is a fairly large area and surrounded by a decaying landscape. It is located in several early builds of Shadow of Chernobyl, most notably build 1935, where it is explorable. The area is located either east or south of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant and can be accessed only by crossing the bridge in the vicinity of the power plant and heading east. The location contains large, sphere-shaped generators which are positioned around an unidentified antenna. These generators are primarily responsible for emissions, a necessary component during the existence of the sea consciousness. Each generator is positioned right in front of what appears to be an anomaly field, although anomalies are not present in any of these fields. This level also contains the entrance to the Monolith War Lab, which appears in Call of Pripyat under the name X8, and was moved to Pripyat. The location itself consists of a wide open field. The area itself is generally desolate, with few signs of life. Powerful mutants such as the pseudo-giant can be found here, and the occasional intemperate stalker. There are a few anomalies in the area, mainly electro anomalies and a few gravitational ones. Darkscape. A narrow valley shaped roughly like a crescent moon. It connects the southern edge of Dark Valley with the abandoned tunnel in the cordon. Roads lead out of the area south and east, although where they exactly lead is unknown. It is a densely forested area with few landmarks, however, several of them stand out. At the end of the most narrow part of the valley lies a collapsed train bridge, part of the railway that passes through the cordon and the Great Swamp. Further to the south, the road separates before a hill. To the southwest, deep in the wilderness, lies an abandoned farmhouse, stripped bare of everything. The main road continues to a crossroads, next to which lies an abandoned gas station. From there, a road leads west directly to the cordon. This level was supposed to be a fast-paced escape scenario, where the player attempts to outrun the pursuing hind and fight through enemy soldiers on the way in order to reach the road back to the cordon. If you played Lost Alpha, you probably remember this. Groups of Ukrainian soldiers would attack the player on the way, blocking the way with makeshift roadblocks and attempting to take out the vehicle, likely a UAZ, with RPG launchers. On the way, the player would be able to switch vehicles if their current one became too damaged. You would have to fight 6 different classes of bandits. Also, some zombie stalkers were supposed to be hanging around in the petrol station and around it. The level is available in build 2571, but it disappeared from the game when vehicles were cut, although it can still be clearly seen on the overhead map of the zone and Shadow of Chernobyl. In fact, when exiting the Dead Valley, the player is immediately placed in cordon, although relative to the exit from the valley, it's a completely different location. One can simply assume that they travel through it off-screen. War Lab. Located in the deepest parts of the zone, beside the generators, it was where the group conducted the common consciousness experiment. The field around this lab served to use generators that would be used by the sea consciousness scientists to interact with the noosphere. The experiment failed and created a large rift within the noosphere, with the zone as a direct consequence. The Monolith War Lab is accessible in build 1935. It is accessible from the generator's level. As far as AI goes, it is completely empty. The level, along with the generators, is not accessible in the final version. The laboratory is only seen in the final cutscene if the player refused to join the Sea Consciousness project, where Sherlock is seen walking in one of the rooms that contains the pods holding the scientists of the Sea Consciousness before shooting them. The new Lab X8 location reuses the layout of the Monolith War Lab, bar some rooms and doors. Dead Mill. Dead Mill is a very long road running through the countryside. The map is cut in half by a hill with a tunnel going through it. The map was supposed to be a connector map between Dead City and military warehouses. It was supposed to be traversed by car because of the sheer length, since cars were, as you know, scrapped. The map followed. For Milrad, the whole level was a long road running through a forest. The terrain is reddish, and the road itself has been a few times, rather than being a perfect straight. Internally named KO3_Milrad, it was a vehicle test map to see how vehicles behaved on turns and straights. As one can imagine, the map itself would be a connecting level between military warehouses and radar. Swamp. This marsh is located to the west of the Dead City and northwest of the Yantar area. It is enclosed on all areas with barbed wire and littered with rotten catwalks and abandoned hamlets. A road leads through the middle of the swamp, guarded by watchtowers. 2 bridges lie on the road. The first is collapsed, but the second intact, and blocked off with concrete blocks, cutting off access to the mysterious Tesla tunnel. Little is known about what the player was supposed to accomplish here. According to a blurb on the old version of the Stalker website, the Phantasm Mutant was supposed to be fought here, although the veracity of that is doubtful, due to the fact that Spetsnaz operators and military stalkers are present in nearly all screenshots of the location released to the public. It's possible that the player was supposed to fight them at this location, for reasons not known. Old Bar. Old Bar is a cut location most notably featured in build 1865. It is a small urban-type settlement with various buildings, of which the most notable ones are the Stalker Bar and the Duty Base. To the south is the transition into the garbage, to the east, the transition to Yantar, and to the north, the transition into armed warehouses. The basement of the convenience store, which is equipped with the bar. The bar is filled with stalkers of various ranks, very different from the release bar. The bar doesn't have the familiar barman, but instead there is a stalker who is wearing mercenary armor with the name Barman. It is assumed that it is simply a placeholder. Various quests would be located here according to the design documents, just like in the release version. The base of duty is located in the northeast of the location. The group is located in the basement of the store, labeled ovoshi or vegetables in Russian. The basement is not equipped at all, empty rooms and all. A large factory with several workshops, an unfinished area, and long underground passages located in the north of the location as a separate location with 2 transition points. Lots of zombies, bloodsuckers, rats, and beers live here, as well as anomalies. It's a dangerous location, functions as a pre-release equivalent of wild territory, but is not required to pass through into any location. Modeled quite accurately on the Rostock plant, located in Kiev, which was close to where GSC had their studio at the time. Abandoned 2-story apartment block. No stalkers are located inside. There is an explorable interior to this building. A small rural school is the first one that catches your eye if you enter the village from the garbage transition side. The school was taken from Dead City, but the second floor of the building was removed. Level 12. Practically nothing is known about this level, except for the element of sketching the global map and the design documents of Stalker Oblivion Lost for 2003 to 2004. Presumably, this location was a kind of a hallway that reaches from Red Forest to Chernobyl nuclear power plant, bypassing Pripyat. It is also known that the level was with numerous high radiation zones, dead zones, psi zones, and inhabited by ghosts in the fog. Judging from the fact the level had access to the river, it is located quite close to the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, and an island of the correct shape is located nearby, most likely in the neighborhood of the construction site of the third stage of the CNPP, which is located on the island and separated from the coast by a narrow strait, served as a prototype of the level. Old Yantar. The redesigned location has been present in the Lost Alpha Director's Cut mod since version 1.4007. The old Yantar was an unreleased level that, possibly due to its intended size, was never released with the initial canon Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl game. A reworked version of the level may be found as a major level component of the standalone mod Stalker Lost Alpha, complete with an extensive and coherent geography, consistent zone features and anomaly formations, and a diverse and extensive wildlife population. A version of the level closer to the original storyline can be found in the Oblivion Lost Remake mod. As always, if there's anything I've missed, anything you want to add, any points you think I may have glossed over, please let me know in the comments.